Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are here for our DIY fitness equipment workshop. And I'm excited today to show you how easy and effective it can be to complete your workouts without even having access to traditional equipment. And when I say traditional, I mean the dumbbells, the kettlebells, a TRX, a mat, a bench, things that you typically see just about everywhere we go. Because let's be honest, sometimes we are traveling and we just don't have access to it, or we travel somewhere thinking there's a gym and there's not. And or maybe you're somebody who is starting off new to the exercise journey and you're not ready to invest in equipment yet because it's expensive, and you know that you don't usually follow through with things. So you're like, why do I invest in something if I know I'm not going to follow through? So I'm going to hold back on purchasing equipment. I hear that a lot of, what do I need to purchase? And honestly, you don't really need to purchase anything. You can use things from around your house to add weight, to do resistance training, to mimic a lot of these movements that we use dumbbells, kettlebells, TRXs, resistance bands for. So I'm going to show you some of that today. But before we get into all that fun stuff, I'm going to tell you the goal of today's workshop, because if you don't walk out today having this result or understanding this goal that I'm having for you, I want you to reach out to me personally and say, Morgan, you missed the mark. You did not get me to that goal that you said you were going to get me to. Because I can guarantee that if you stick along and you follow along with us today, you will hit this goal. So the goal of this workshop is so that by the end, you have the tools and the knowledge to create a workout with household items. No matter where you are, limited equipment will not be an obstacle in your fitness journey. So you won't get hung up when you're like, oh, you said to do rows with dumbbells and I don't have dumbbells. Like, you are going to have all the tools and the ideas possible, so that when somebody says, when you have something written down, is this is the plan, and you don't have that equipment, you can find something instead and still complete that workout. So as we kind of move through, we're going to talk about some of the benefits. But before we get into that, if you have any questions throughout, remember these trainings are in Facebook and they also are in YouTube. You may find them a few other places. If there's ever a comment box, make sure to comment below. Let me know that you've tuned in, drop hashtag live or hashtag replay. Let me know who you are and any questions that you have of, I don't have this piece of equipment, I don't have dumbbells, what can I use instead? Or, hey, I don't have a sheet, which we're going to use today. What can I use instead? If there's a question that arises at any point, please drop it in the comments. Even if you're watching the replay, I will circle back and I will answer those questions. I will do a video and I will show you, and I will post it, or I will send you a private message. The other option is, if you're like, I'm not comfortable posting in the comments, I'm not quite ready for that yet, send me a private message. You can send me an email. My email's in the description, as well as you can send me a Facebook message. Reach out to me on any way that you've got my contact information. You can also go to our website and contact me there. So, benefits of DIY fitness equipment is it allows you to get creative and resourceful with your workouts. So a lot of times, like I mentioned, we have this plan of, I need to do bent over rows with dumbbells. And all of a sudden we get to bent over rows with dumbbells and we're like, I don't have dumbbells. And then we're flustered and we end up not doing our workout, or we skip that movement. And we need to be able to do that. So we're going to give some alternatives so you can think on your toes and you can still get that good workout in, even if you don't have the appropriate equipment. One of the other things that it does is it allows you to personalize your fitness routine based on using items that fits your needs. So based on where you're at, I took a backpack to Florida back in April. Take a backpack everywhere. It's like my briefcase. And I was able to use that in my workouts, and I'm going to show you how here in a little bit. It's going to allow you to stay consistent when you travel or when you're short on time. Sometimes we don't have time to go down to the gym or go to the gym and actually grab those weights. You can use things from around the house to still get that effective workout in. And the last thing is, it's going to improve functionality by mimicking real life movement that can enhance functional fitness. So functional fitness is being able to essentially practice things in a workout setting that are going to make your life easier on the outside. So for instance, when we practice squats, we are getting better at getting up and down out of a chair. So that is functional fitness, movements that you are doing in a workout that translate to life easier on the outside. So we're going to move in and we're going to talk about multiple different pieces in your household that you can grab. The first one we are going to be focusing on is a backpack. So this is my backpack. I have just a little bit of stuff in here right now. I took it this morning to a meeting, so there's some stuff. It's not super heavy, but a backpack is really nice for multiple reasons. Reason number one is most backpacks have a handle up here. You've got two handles here. You can hold it this way. You could swing it like a kettlebell. We'll move through a few different motions, but your backpack is very versatile. The other thing is usually backpacks are made very sturdy, which means you can fill them with quite a bit of things. If you have ever traveled with a backpack and that's your only piece of luggage that you get to take, you've probably filled it pretty full and it's pretty heavy. So knowing that, this is going to hold up no matter what you put in it. So when we are doing a backpack, things that you can put in there are books, canned goods, water bottles, clothes. I currently have a reusable grocery bag, which we'll talk about later. And I got some shoes in here because that's just what I had close. And depending on what you put in there, the heavier the items, the heavier that weight's going to be. So you do have to be a little bit cautious of kind of knowing, okay, about how heavy does that feel? Is that weight too heavy? Is it too light? The nice part is you can take it off. You can take a little bit out if it's too heavy. You can add a little bit more if it's too light. So when we are focusing on our backpack, we're going to go through a few moves here. One of the main things that you can do, which is one of my favorite, is anytime you're doing leg exercises, a lot of times we will weight that weight in the front with a kettlebell or a dumbbell. Put that weight on your back, pull the straps so that it's nice and tight to your body. And from here, we can move through, and it's kind of like having a weighted vest on. So we can move through these movements. We can do a lateral lunge. We could technically do a deadlift here. We could do a squat. Any of the things that you would typically weight in front with weight, you can weight on your back with a backpack. If you notice that the weight in the back is a little too much sometimes, and you're like, oh, I kind of want to weight it in the front, you can weight it in the front. That, for me, tends to allow me to keep my chest up when I squat. Because I think about pulling my shoulders back and down over these straps, and that will keep your chest up. And this right here, when you are squatting with this weight, you may not notice that it's a lot, but you will notice today, as I'm just moving this backpack that has, I don't know, let's say 5 pounds in, you're going to hear my voice start to go up and down because it may not be a lot, but adding that extra weight in a different way is challenging. The other cool part about a backpack compared to a dumbbell is, if you listen, see how things are moving everywhere. So when items are moving everywhere, you have to have more core stability to make sure that if you do tip over when doing a lunge, that weight in that backpack is also going to shift. So you have to, it's a really nice stabilizing movement when you use a backpack. So that's how you can use it for your lower body. For upper body, you can do rows. So we can stagger our feet and we can hang onto these handles here, cinch them up nice and low, shoulders back and down. And we can do a single arm row. This is a lawnmower row. We can do a bent over row, so hanging onto both handles. Push those hips back, drive those fists to your hips. You could hang onto this top handle. Start with your thumb in here. Do a shoulder press. You could also, depending on the type of bag you have, mine had a little bit of a hard bottom or back. I can go, and sometimes the handles do get in the way, so holding it in a way that's going to be nice for you. Doing overhead press. Same thing goes if you are on the ground. So if I come down to the ground, and I'm going to do a chest press. Weights up, lower back the arm to touch the ground, press it back up. That weight is shifting in there. So a backpack is a really awesome way, and I can guarantee it is something that we all have on us, whether you are a parent or you are, you just have kids or whatever it is. We all have a backpack somewhere. It may not be the nicest looking backpack in the world, but as long as you've got one with straps, you have multiple different handles that you can worry about. You can do suitcase march. There is a ton of stuff that you can do with a backpack. So this is probably my favorite option that I'm going to show you today, because you can weight it really heavy, you can weight it really light, it moves, your core's got to be a little bit more stable. You can do a lateral raise, you can do a frontal raise, You can do just about anything. If there's a move that you're like, can I do it with the backpack? Drop it in the comments, ask. You can, I'm almost sure you can. So after you've kind of played around with that backpack a little bit, let me know in the comments, which move do you feel like is the most likely that you'll do it? My two favorites are reverse lunges, because I just cinched that on my back, and then that lawnmower row we used, or we did. So that is that backpack. You can also use a duffel bag. I find duffel bags are a little bit too clunky, whereas a backpack ends up being a little bit more reasonable to move around with, and it's just a little bit more comfortable. So the second one here that we're gonna go through is a towel or a bed sheet. I have a bed sheet. You can use anywhere from a twin size bed sheet all the way up to a king. I have a queen. This is like if you got some old sheets that you're like, I'm just gonna throw these out, keep one of them. Because let's say you don't have a TRX and you are at home and you don't want to spend $150 on a TRX, but you still want to be able to do some body weight gravity movement. So you can use a towel. I find a towel is a little too short depending on the move. So this right here is my sheet. It's my very long sheet. In our household, we don't really use these light sheets or whatever this is called. The non-fitted sheet is what this is. So what I recommend, because we want to create an anchor point if we're creating a TRX. So I'm going to show you two different ways to do this. One, we want to make sure we have a door. This door opens in. You want to find a door that is going to open away from you. So when you put the anchor in, you're pulling that door towards you. Me, because I've got a lock on this, I'm going to do it this way. I do not recommend doing it that way for you. Pull the door shut. The other thing you can use is a banister, as long as it's not going to move on you and it's really sturdy, just so that you've got an anchor point. I'm going to show you both. So we are going to start with the TRX portion though. And the first thing you got to do is kind of take your sheet, ball it up. That's a nice straight line. And then we're going to twist it so it's nice and tight, because we're going to create a knot. So once you are able to, you're going to create a little knot here at the end. Pull it through. Okay. That should be pretty stable. You always want to test this out before you go and you put your whole body weight into it. So next thing, what you are going to do, you should be able to see this. I'm going to take this, and I'm going to take this knot, and I'm going to place it up on the other side of the door. You want to make sure that the knot is not up at that seam, but it's down a little bit, but not all the way down. And then from there, I try to straighten this out as best as I can so it actually fits under or fits in between. You're going to shut. And if you have a lock, I recommend locking it, because it adds that extra level. So see, my sheet is now hanging. I'm also going to, see how it moves a little bit. We're going to pull, not going anywhere. So you want to pull on it a little bit on your own before you put your whole body weight in. So a TRX is really great for a few different things. I'm going to go from the side. Typically, you are going to walk out straight away from it. So if I were to do it the way I properly would, you would be seeing my back. We don't want that. So you would be looking at your door. Things to remember about your TRX. The further your feet go in, the more challenging it's going to be. The more upright you stand, the easier. Option number one. So find the edges of your sheets. Get a nice good grip on them. I like to go up. This, like I said, this is a long sheet. Nice wide stance, shoulders back and down. And we're going to do rows. Squeezing those shoulder blades together. You can, depending on the thickness of your sheet, put it all in one hand. Do a single arm row. You can go back to two. Do two, find the ends. And maybe you are working on your squats. Sitting down into it, but you need a little extra support so that you can really make sure you're getting that good depth. Maybe you're working on single leg squats. So like either it goes out in front or it goes back behind. But you need that little bit of support. TRXs are fantastic for this. And then the other cool thing that you can do is you can hang on to it. You can get your elbows up and you can do bicep curls. keeping those elbows up and forward. And yes, is it the prettiest thing? But no, it's DIY. Most of the times we do DIY, or if you've ever seen the show Nailed It, highly recommend if you haven't. It's about people trying to recreate cakes that they see on Pinterest, but they're terrible at it. But like it doesn't matter because it's still a cake and it still gets the point across. Same thing goes. Whether it's a sheet, a towel, a backpack, does not have to be your typical piece of equipment to actually get a good workout in. So that is how you're going to anchor your TRX when it's up here. There is another way down here that if you are somebody who does use a TRX, typically, so you'll twist this so that it gets nice and tight so you can create another knot. If you are somebody who doesn't typically use the TRX, and this is where you need two of them. So actually, now that I'm thinking about this, so if you wanted to use two, so let's say hanging onto your sheet was awkward, when you're like, this is just so awkward to hang on and have all this in the middle. You can do one sheet and two sheet, and you can anchor up here, and then you can tie those two sheets together at the bottom and create a little strap, and you can do your push-ups where your feet are in those stirrups. You can do mountain climbers, all sorts of those things. So if you want a video of me showing you how to do that, just drop two in the comments below, and I will get you a video on that. But with one sheet, that's all I had available today. So that's what I was using. So now we're going to pull this out. You can keep that knot if you would like, totally up to you. But now we're going to find that anchor point. So maybe we want to do something that is something about belly button height. Maybe we're just doing a normal row and not a higher row. Same thing. Rowing in. I don't fully trust this banister, so I'm not putting my entire weight into it. But you can do the same thing with those squats. Give yourself a little bit of support here. And you can wrap it around that banister just like you would up above. It's just changing that angle. So a towel or a sheet. I find a sheet's a little better, like I mentioned. It's a little longer. It's a little easier to hang on to as well. But you could also make a towel work, preferably a beach towel that's longer. So as we move into the third thing that you can do, it's going to be a chair or a stool. So because of the height of my ceiling, if I were to do a chair, we would be knocking my head. So I'm going to be using a stool here. And for this stool, we have a few different things. We can do chair squats. And this is a really good alternative if you are like, I'm not very good at squats. I tend to do this. If you're somebody who does this when they squat, and you're like falling forward and you're only moving a few inches, I need you to break it down into a sit to stand or a chair squat. They're both the same thing. Knees and toes both point the same direction. Heels a little bit underneath us. Body rock forward. Core is engaged. Press through those heels, those big toes. Press through. Stand up nice and tall. And then sit back down nice and lightly. But right there, if you have a chair, you can do chair squats or a sit to stand. You can do step ups. So watch into the head. Foot comes up. Body leans forward as we're loading this top leg. Stand. Nice and light, bring that foot down. And the higher your bench, your chair, or your stool is, the more challenging this is going to be. The other thing that you can do with this is you can do elevated mountain climbers. So maybe a plank or a mountain climber on the ground is a little too challenging. Elevate yourself. This is a modification, but maybe all you have is a chair because the floor is really dirty, but you still want to be able to do it. Hands on the outside of your chair, shoulders back and down, body rock forward, drive those knees. Core nice and tight. You can also hold a plank. You could do push-ups from down there if you would like to. Thinking about what your environment looks like. Can you use an elevated surface? You can still do it. Maybe that hotel room floor is really gross. So you're using an elevated surface. You don't have to put your hands down there. Laying a towel down also works for a mat. The other thing that you can do, and this is going to be a little bit challenging on this one, is tricep dips. So you put your butt on your chair, hands go on the outside of your chair. I like to go on the outside, not here, but kind of out this way. You choose the hand placement that's better for you. Lower and press. One thing I notice is when I work with people with these, their shoulders end up hurting. So give yourself find that placement, and it may mean you're just a little too tight. So we want to stick to a different option, which I'm going to show you here in a second. So we've done a backpack, we've done a towel, and we have done a chair. So number 4 is going to be laundry soap or dishwasher soap or bleach bottles or paint cans. Anything that has a handle is going to essentially mimic a dumbbell or a kettlebell. So things that you can think about. I'm going to take it back to the backpack here for a sec. I can do a bicep curl with a backpack and go palm up, or I can go palm in. I can also do a kettlebell swing with a backpack. Do I recommend putting a few hundred pounds in this backpack? No, absolutely not. But I can still perform the movement. If you like boxed wine, this is black box, soda box. All the boxed wines are good when you're like traveling because it allows to carry around a bunch of bottles. You could do, as long as you trust the box, you could use this for kettlebell swings. You could use this for a shoulder press. You could use this, as long as you can hang on to it, for a row. It'll really work on that grip strength. So anything that you can hang on to or have a handle is a really great option. As I was telling about those tricep dips, grab a few cans of soup, push those hips back, do tricep press backs. Fill that water bottle. Maybe you don't drink the hotel water, but fill your water bottle and do tricep press backs, do bicep curls. When the weight is lighter, do more reps. That is a really awesome way to make sure you are still getting that workout in. The other option is to hold an isometric hold and work the other one. So technically both are working. Hold, work. And in reality, they're both working at the same time. These are just cans of tomatoes. They don't have to be anything special. The other thing, like I mentioned, is your reusable grocery bags. We bring in groceries all of the time. Those bags are so flippin' heavy. So flippin' heavy. We don't want to drop them. We don't want to have to go back for another round. So we put them all the way up our arms and we try to shimmy up our small stairs and through our doorways. Take those bags, fill them with groceries or things in your house, and do your marches. Carry those through your driveway. Maybe you're going to light in one and you're going to do a bicep curl. Maybe you're going to do that row and you just have to clench up on that bag a little bit. You can use just about anything in your house to fill these bags. And as long as it's got some sort of a handle or something you can hang on to, you can use it in replacement of a dumbbell or kettlebell. So the last little thing is we do resistance band range of motions and things like that. So this is the stick to my Swiffer. And I find this is the best because it's light. And you're not moving around a broom. Everybody recommends a broom or a mop. And like, I get it. But I don't want the dust or the grody mop head flying above my head. So a Swiffer's nice because it just pops right up. So doing our range of motions with a fixed surface. So your hands can slide. If you would like, they go all the way out. The other thing, shoulders back and down, lat pull downs. This is more mobility and range of motion, but there's still two very important things. We go behind the head. We are so forward focused that being able to just take this and try to get a good stretch. We bring our hands close together. And we do a range of motion without pushing our hips forward. And a lot of times we use a band because the band's what's in our gym. You can use anything. I could technically use my tripod here. Let's be honest. I've got my tripod. I want to work on my range of motion. I can grab my tripod. There are things literally everywhere in our house, but we get so caught up in, oh, it doesn't look a certain way, or it's not the way we were hoping it would be, or, oh, I'm thrown off because I don't have that one thing. I get it. We are all that way. But now that you have some options on what you can use instead, you're going to be more successful. You're going to finish that workout. So, what questions do you have? Drop them in the comments. Take a breather. If you've been practicing along with me, as you can tell, None of these things are very heavy, but when you're moving with them, it adds just enough resistance. Should I say that this is your only way? This is the only weight you should be lifting. If you are over here lifting soup cans for 3 months straight, we need to get you something a little heavier. But every once in a while, using this is perfect. Or maybe you get some those bigger soup cans, or we can find things, but start with something that you have. See if you get consistent. And then from there, invest in the equipment that you are looking for. So some other benefits that we've already talked about, but I'm going to kind of circle back to them is the best part about DIY fitness equipment is that it's portable. You can pack a towel, you can pack a sheet, you can pack your water bottle, you can pack it all in your backpack and carry that with you. And you can do your workouts anywhere. I took that backpack, it was actually a bigger backpack, and I filled it. So I got to Florida, and in the morning, I already pulled all my clothes out. I just filled it with a bunch of random stuff in the Airbnb, and I went down to the park and I did my workout because I just needed some weight. I didn't want a backpack with no weight. I wanted some weight in that backpack. The other thing is it's really budget friendly. If you are somebody who is a little hesitant, or you know you've let yourself down in the past of, I buy this thing and I don't use it, I buy this thing and I don't use it, and you're really trying to be better about that and only buying things that you know you're going to use and you're going to be consistent about, this is a really good cost-effective way to still start working on strength training, still start working on resistance training, still move your body without having to put a lot of money in investing into something. I always tell people that if you were to invest in one piece of equipment, and I will drop the links in the comments below, but if you were to invest in one piece of equipment, it's going to be your most reasonable and cheapest piece of equipment is a set of resistance bands and mini bands. And they usually come as a combo, and they're usually about $25. And the nice part about those is you can take them anywhere. They're lightweight. But, so I always travel with those, and I travel with my backpack. So no matter what, where I am, what I'm doing, I can get a good and effective workout in. And that would be the step that if you are like, okay, I really like all these ideas, I think this is great, but what is my next step? Your next step is going to be a set of resistance bands and mini bands. If you already have those, then send me a message. Let's figure out what set of dumbbells or what type of dumbbells we should get for you so that you can have a weight that is challenging enough for you, but it isn't like, well, now that's too challenging. We got to kind of find that baseline. So send me a message. Let's talk. Let's find that next set of weights. TRX, I love it, but a sheet, as you saw, it works just as well. That if you don't want to spend it and you're not sure if I really like the TRX, start with a sheet. And you'll notice, do I like the workouts? TRX has a whole website of all their TRX workouts and exercises. Some may be a little bit more awkward to do with a sheet, but they're still totally doable. So travel benefits and budget benefits is what we just talked about here. And now, after this training, you should have all of the knowledge and all of the tools on how to use. If you are somewhere where you don't have any of this, most likely you're not going to have anything else. So if that is the case, you're doing body weight workouts anyways. You're doing squats, push-ups, core moves that involve no weight at all. But if you are somewhere where you have a backpack or you have a bag of any sort, you have enough. Just fill those, and those will work for almost all of your moves. And like I said, if there's a move that you are like, we didn't go over, how do I use that? What does that look like? Just send me a message. I'll get you a video, I'll get you a how-to on what that looks like. So once again, if as you're watching, as you're thinking later on, maybe you're thinking later on today, questions come up, drop them in the comments, send me a message. And thank you guys so much for joining me today. I hope you feel empowered to get creative with your fitness equipment, and that this workshop showed you what you can do wherever you are, and that you're not feeling like a deer in the headlights when you see a workout and you go to plan to do it and you just don't have the equipment. Another thing, I'll add one last tidbit in, is let's say you do have weights, but you've outgrown your weights and you haven't quite gotten to the point where you're ready to invest in the next set. Grab a bag, fill it. Remember, we can fill that as heavily as we want, just like we can make it as light as we want. So I encourage you to try a workout this week using DIY equipment that I covered today. Post a picture of your setup. Send me a picture, post in any of our communities, and I would love to see what types of setups you came up with. So keep an eye out for more workshops as we dive deeper into maintaining your strength, your fitness, your health, and all of those things. And if you have not checked out the Empower Her Wellness podcast yet, make sure to check us out on Spotify, Apple, wherever you listen to your podcast. So I will see you all next time. Have a great rest of your day.